Well, why don't you take an art class?
Why don't you see how expensive they are?
I'm back, and we're doing Helluva Boss today. And I even went all out, you guys, and I did a little bit of a Blitz-inspired look. I mean, obviously it's pretty basic, but I don't know. I just figured it would be kind of cute to do something. Normally when I do cosplay, it's a very over-the-top affair, but I haven't had as much time lately to put something huge together. But in the future I will for sure. So with this show, I have to admit that I'm one of those people who did not watch Helluva Boss until I had watched Hazbin Hotel, which I didn't even watch until February. So this is a very new special interest for me, both of these shows. But I did watch all of the currently available episodes of Helluva Boss in a day. So that should tell you that I became involved in the fandom at a very rapid pace. So with Helluva Boss, that's honestly my history. I watched the whole thing like a month and a half, maybe a month ago, and now I'm obsessed with it. So here we go. Similar to last time's video, I am going to talk a little bit about what I liked and didn't like about it initially, and then I'm going to pick 5 topics, kind of like I did last time, to go into a little more depth with. Please keep in mind there is so much more that I can say, and there's even a lot more detail that I could go into with regards to these 5 topics I'm going to mention today. But dude, like I said in the last Hazbin Hotel video, we would be here for jillions and jillions of years. We would be here as long as hell has been in existence if we did all of that in one video. So we're going to keep it kind of limited, mildly limited. So here we go. So let's start with talking about what I like about Helluva Boss. I like a lot of things. I first and foremost really love the characters and how in-depth they all are. They're all, well, most of them are fairly complicated and have interesting backstories and really interesting dynamics with other characters. And the animation is incredible. I'm recalling the scene where Stolitz is talking to baby Octavia and telling her that she'll be okay, and seeing all of the stars and the beautiful galactic backgrounds that are up during that time. And it's also just really cool to see like the fight scenes, for example. I'm not a huge action girly, to be totally honest with you. It's really not my first priority when I'm looking at films and TV shows, but I do think that they do such a good job with it that it's just really cool to see, and I love that. And I have an itch on my nose. Yeah, yes. And I just really love it. So another really interesting thing about Helluva Boss, especially compared to Hazbin Hotel, is I actually do think that a lot of it's funny. I actually do think that some of the jokes do land really well. I think that Blitz is extremely hilarious a lot of the time, and I like the humor admittedly more than I like it in Hazbin Hotel. And yeah, I'm gonna get to what I don't like, don't worry, but for now I'll just say that I actually appreciate that it is somewhat funny in that regard. And another thing I really love are the positive relationships shown. I do have issues that I'll talk about with Millie and Moxxie, but I really, really love Fizzarolli and Asmodeus's relationship. I think that it's incredibly cute and sweet, and I just think that that's great. And finally, I really love that there are some good emotional beats. I do think that when the show does focus on being emotional, it can be really effective. I do think that it is good some of the time at demonstrating those very human emotions that the denizens of hell have. So they do a great job at that at times. Now let's get to things I don't really like as much, because I do have a couple of bones to pick with the show, so to speak. So going back to the humor, I do think the humor can be really cringe. I don't necessarily think that it is always extremely well orchestrated. For example, in the episode where they meet Crimson, Moxxie's father, for the first time, I do think that some of the sexual jokes are just really, really cringy. And I'm not like, you guys, I've talked about this before. I'm not a prude person. I'm not anti-cussing. Clearly I cuss on this channel. I cuss with my clients in session. It's not that. It's just that some of it can come off very 8th grader-ish. And I think that that's fine, because at the end of the day, look, some people are going to think it's funny. Chiefly, the creators apparently think it's really funny. And that's really their prerogative. This is just my opinion as a viewer, that I think some of it can be toned down a little bit, and a lot of it's really funny. So I guess they'll just have to work it out amongst themselves.
And then
work it out amongst yourselves, please.
Another thing that's sort of tied to the weird humor at times is the tonal direction that the show likes to go at times. There are times where I don't know if I'm supposed to be laughing. I don't know if I'm supposed to be kind of sad. I don't know if I'm supposed to be cringing. And I think that it can sometimes be a little bit whiplashy from scene to scene. Like, for example, I'm thinking about Asmodeus's club. I should just say Ozzie's, Haley, just say Ozzie's. Where one minute we're seeing this really lovey-dovey display from Moxxie towards Millie, and then we're hearing this banger of a song by Asmodeus, and he's singing, and then all of a sudden we have that horrible, heart-wrenching scene with Stolitz and Blitz. And maybe I'm being a little bit nitpicky here, but I think that there are other examples throughout the show where it's just like, okay, we're going on a path, and then all of a sudden, it's just, where are we going here? And going back to that Crimson episode, you guys, going back to the Crimson episode, I also think that the sexual jokes and then like the seriousness of the character are in a little bit of competition with each other. Like, I really think Crimson could be such a cool villain. I'm really interested. I'm really obsessed with like mafiosos and mafia culture, and I really think he could be very cool. And he is very scary. I actually do think he's very scary. But when he does like the dildo thing on the walls, I'm just like, this is so fucking cringe.
What do you think I'm into? What? This is the kind of shit gays like, right? Okay, first off, Dad, I'm bisexual. Yeah, gay. Oh, for fuck's sake. Secondly, I don't know a single person of any sexuality who'd enjoy this.
There's dicks in the walls. Oh, that's fucking hilarious.
And again, nitpicky a little bit, right? Nitpicky, maybe that was what the creators were going for. I don't know. Like, oh, he's the scary guy, but he's also like a complete and total weird boomer dad when it comes to sexuality and gay stuff. I don't know. I'm just telling you guys what I thought. I'm just telling you guys where I'm at with it. Okay. First one, Millie and Moxxie. Yeah, I want to talk about Millie and Moxxie because they are really cute, both in personality and in appearance. We love Millie and Moxxie. We root for Millie and Moxxie. We really love their interactions and think they have a very sweet relationship. However, there is something really important that I think we need to talk about with regards to how Moxxie looks at Millie or how Moxxie reacts to Millie. And by that, I mean that we can see that Moxxie is a little bit jealous of his own wife. Obviously, the most prominent example of this is going to be in the Happy Campers episode, which people are very polarized about the quality of that episode overall. But what I thought was so interesting is how it really showcased how Moxxie, when he sees his wife doing well, when he sees his wife being loved by a lot of different people, he gets very, very insecure, and he launches into his own self-sabotage routine, essentially, because he is so fearful of people liking her and not him. This is demonstrative of how Moxxie has a pretty unhealthy attitude towards his wife in the sense that he's competing with her. He's competing with her for attention and for accolades. And granted, I completely understand that because in the show, we see that Moxxie is made the butt of a joke a lot of the times. And he is clearly a capable fighter. He's clearly a capable assassin, but he is made fun of and he is routinely put down. And I mean, I get it, dude. I really, really get it. And I understand that he has self-esteem issues because I see how he's treated, right? But if he's going to be in a healthy relationship with his wife, he has to realize that him and his wife are a team. They are the M&Ms. They are not to be in conflict with each other in that way. So I love their relationship. I think they're both so cute. I do wish we, like everyone, saw more of Millie and her personality and her nuances. But Moxxie, dude, you really got to go to therapy. You got to work on your self-esteem. Just saying. Okay, so then we get to our other couple that is so very loved by the fandom, and that is Fizzarolli and Ozzie. You guys are going to be like, why are you saying it like that? I'm learning Italian, so that's how it would be pronounced in Italian. If you are Italian and you don't pronounce it that way, please correct me because I really do need to be corrected. So Fizzarolli and Ozzie are playful, cute. They do activities together that are not sexual, not only sexual, I should say. They are honest with each other. They are honestly a really, really positive representation of a relationship in this universe, right? Where we do tend to have relationships that are not so healthy that I'm going to get into in the course of this video. So what beef do I have with this pairing? It's not so much that I have an issue with this pairing per se. It's just that I am curious to see where the future goes and how their relationship handles the fact that at this point, basically people know that they are together. People know that the embodiment of lust is in a relationship with an imp. And even though, yes, he's arguably the most famous imp in all of hell, and he's beloved, and he is such an incredibly popular entertainer, they are going to be scrutinized for this. And they're going to even more so be scrutinized for the fact that they are in love in the ring of hell that is known for not exactly the most loving activities. And so what I'm more curious about is not what we've seen of Fitz and Ozzie, but what we will see of Fitz and Ozzie, how their relationship will be tested knowing that they will have so many judgmental eyes on them. They already did, and I understand people knew that these people were in love. However, I think that they're going to get even more of that as the seasons move forward, and I think that it's going to be very important for Fitz to understand that he needs the same amount of respect when all of this is out in public. And Asmodeus is going to have to contend with the fact that he had this whole platform of, oh yeah, you guys, it's all about lust, it's all about banging and da-da-da-da-da, but now I'm in love. So the terms of the entire ring are going to have to change. And so he's going to have to do that as well. And so I think both men are going to have to communicate with each other about their needs and about how they can feel supported. And I mean, now that Fitz has basically said peace out to Mammon, he's going to do well with, I don't know, maintaining an entrepreneurial life. He's going to have to make sure that he asks for the support that he needs as he navigates a new part of his work life. So I guess that's not really the most interesting point I have on this list, but I just wanted to bring it up because yes, they've done great, but they're going to have a lot of conversations in the future. So we're going to put a pin in that.
Rise and shine, Ozzie!
Oh, again with the horn.
For a big old breakfast.
Let me guess. I'm handling that too.
I mean, unless you want me to take a crack at cooking again.
No. Never again.
Okay, the next one I want to talk about is Loona. Oh my goodness. You guys, I have such a soft spot for Loona because my very first job as a therapist was working at a youth shelter. And granted, completely not the same thing as a pound for hellhounds, but there were a lot of children who had just been through the ringer in life and they were so ready to have a stable situation and just be done with all the bull crap. And Loona's story obviously starts out so heartbreaking. We see that she is getting close to being 18 and she is going to essentially be from what it looked like, it essentially looked like she was going to be exterminated if nobody adopted her by that time, which, oh my God, just killed me. I was like, that just hits so hard, especially as a therapist for a lot of teens. So she obviously gets adopted. Blitz is a pretty funny dad. Like he reminds me a little bit of my dad in the sense of like, if I was even in the remote vicinity of a male, my dad would be freaking out and like trying to make sure that it got sabotaged real quick. But Blitz is a great dad, and he is so not appreciated by Loona. Now here's the thing. That is not inherently an ineffective or negative way to tell the story, because people who are adopted at a later age, and especially kids who've been in like the foster system and all of that, can still have a lot of issues with adults, and they can still be very antagonistic towards adults because the adults in their prior experiences have been very antagonistic to them. So that her treatment of Blitz and her violence towards him is I'm not inherently opposed to it. However, what I am really weirded out by, I guess, is the fact that it's treated like such a funny thing. Things are supposed to be cool or funny, like, again, the fight scenes, but that's a different thing. I'm talking about people who are supposed to love each other or like each other in the show, and it being played off for laughs when Loona beats the shit out of Blitz. I just don't think it's funny, and I think that it should either be paired with like, oh shit, oh my God, that was a really bad thing, or it just shouldn't be there at all. And I think it's okay for her to be snarky to Blitz, and I still think that that can be a little bit of a better representation. But yeah, I just think it's kind of weird, and I feel like it makes Loona a little bit less likable. Now, I do want to remind the audience, or rather discuss something that really affected Loona's portrayal in, I guess, the later part of season 2, or season 2 as a whole, which is that her voice actress unfortunately did lose her partner, which super devastating, and that caused her to not be as available to voice Loona. And so a lot of Loona's recent roles that we've seen have been pretty much voiceless, and her just reacting to her environment, like when she was going to get the vaccine. And I don't think that kind of stuff does any favors to the character, but on a human level, like, we have to understand, okay, completely understandable why her voice actress wasn't around and wasn't able to be there to flesh out the character and make sure the character was having more depth to her personality. So I do recognize that some of my criticism or some of my beef with this particular character comes from the fact that the person voicing her wasn't able to give her life as much. So that's not something I'm blaming at all on the voice actress. I think she's phenomenal. But yeah, I'd really like to see Loona's and Blitz's relationship develop a little bit more and maybe rely less on the random acts of violence, because again, the antagonism towards adults is not unusual or weird or a bad storytelling device. It's the violence and the way it's seen. It's like, it's not funny. I don't know, at least to me, it's not. So that's how I feel about that. Hope we get to see a whole lot more of Loona and her development in future seasons. Okay, we have a hat. I went on a laundry adventure, retrieved a hat. Now we have a hat. Let's continue. So another character that obviously we do need to see more of before we can really talk about her much is Octavia. But I feel like she just doesn't get talked about enough, and I really feel for this girl. I really, really do. This is another character who, admittedly, because of my background working with teens and working with teens from very difficult families, I'm like, dude, I just really want this girl to have a significantly better time in the show. And one thing I thought about actually was, okay, if her parents are divorcing, who is she going to be spending more time with, right? And honestly, like, I don't really know if either parent is very equipped to take proper care of her. I forget how old she's supposed to be in the show, but she's at least supposed to be maybe 15, 16 from what I understand. So she's not really at that level where she gets to just say, all right, I'm done with this bullshit, I'm going. So she is going to likely have to spend time with her parents. I don't know how the court system in hell works, but there's going to be some kind of custody arrangement. And I really think that either parent is not a great choice for her. Neither parent has really demonstrated that they care for her to the extent that she needs to be cared for. Obviously, Stolitz has done a better job of showing tenderness towards her, but in the Lululand episode, for example, we see that he's wanting to spend time with her, and not really because he wants to spend time with her, you know? So what Octavia may need, if neither of her parents are really going to give her what she needs, is a very good role model. And, you know, Luna's okay. You know, Loona maybe is not the best influence for Octavia. However, I do think that she is a good start. And I think that she's somebody who can relate to having a complicated relationship with her own father. So I do think that that is going to be very positive because, yeah, Stella is kind of a raging asshole and clearly didn't even really want kids. Stolitz is well-meaning and good-hearted at times, but he is ultimately very selfish at times and more interested in Blitz than his own daughter. And I think, therefore, that Loona, because she is familiar with the situations at hand and is also a little bit older, she can be kind of like an older sister figure to Octavia. And I think that maybe Octavia might need even influence from people like Millie and Moxxie and other characters who maybe have their shit a little bit more together. Because, yeah, she's not necessarily going to get in all of that good attachment from her parents. She's not going to get that secure attachment from her parents per se. Maybe later on with Stolitz. Especially if he works his fucking shit out with Blitz, which leads me to the next section. Let's talk Stolitz. Oh my god, I don't want to, but we have to because this is arguably the biggest thing in this show at this point is the will they or won't they between Stolitz and Blitzo. So, confession time, I did not watch the pilot. I just watched the available episodes that we have thus far, so I didn't entirely see what Stolitz was like in the pilot. However, from the clips that I've seen, he was a very different character, and he was more of like a sadistic, evil little guy than the uwu boy that he is now. So, and I think that in the beginning of the show, he wasn't necessarily super duper evil, but certainly the show, as we know, was supposed to be about a group of imps who have their own killing company who go to the surface each episode and kill some people because they are hired to do so. And they need that, in order to do that, they need the grimoire. And the grimoire is owned by Stolitz. And that has deviated. That plot device is still part of the show, but a lot of what's going on right now in the show is around the relationship that Stolitz and Blitz have. So as we know, it started out with them knowing each other somehow as babies in the circus, and Stolitz invited Blitz over. Well, not really, because Stolitz's dad purchased Blitz for a day. Blitz stole a bunch of stuff and ran with it. 25 years later, he comes back to try to steal the grimoire because he somehow remembers that Stolitz has a grimoire, and then Stolitz thinks he's hitting on him, and then they bang, and then from there on out, they bang once a month so that Blitz gets the grimoire. Like, you guys know all this. I'm just repeating it just in case. So we understand that this is the basis of their relationship. And we also see throughout the season that Stolitz is a pursuer, and Blitz is what we would call, in therapist parlance, the distancer. So we have a pursuer-distancer dynamic, and even though Blitz needs Stolitz on some level for that grimoire, he isn't necessarily super hyped about having a full-on relationship with Stolitz. And Stolitz, even though, yes, he wants Blitz, I think some of this is coming from his own, like, unchecked desires, if that makes sense. At the end of the day, I think that his feelings for Stolitz, or his feelings for Blitz rather, are genuine, but I also don't think that he recognizes how exploitative the relationship was from the beginning, because at the end of the day, Stolitz did have the power. Blitz doesn't really have power in this situation. Yes, Stolitz wanted companionship. Sure, but he could have gotten that from anybody, essentially. But he saw that Blitz had a need, and he essentially took advantage of it knowingly, you know? So I'm really in the camp of people who do not think that Stolitz is a super innocent guy in this whole thing and that he's just a tiny baby that we need to take care of. Because frankly, I think that both of these men are very, very flawed. And yes, I like the character of Blitz. I like the character of Stolitz. But I do not think that they're necessarily good guys. And I do think that there is so much room for development. So I think that Blitz does feel a little more strongly about Stolitz than he lets on. Maybe not as much as Stolitz did in episodes like the one after Ozzie's. I don't even remember what that one was called, but where we saw all the texting that Stolitz was doing, and then Blitz was like, yep, bleh, okay, cool, da-da-da-da, whatever one-word responses. I do think that Blitz is starting to recognize feelings for him, and my understanding is that Stolitz is basically going to be canon. Like, they're basically going to get together. I'm pretty sure that the next episode is going to be a duet episode, the full moon episode that is supposedly coming in like April. So I'm not one of those people that's like, it needs to not happen. We cannot let Stolitz happen. I'm just one of those people who is kind of a hater. Just kidding, but not really. I'm kind of opposed to us just waltzing on into this pairing as if nothing bad has happened and as if no exploitation has occurred and as if these men work well together and there are no questions about it. I do not think that these men work well together with no questions asked. I think that there is so much development that needs to be done. I think that Blitz needs to be more comfortable voicing his opinions. He needs to be more comfortable controlling his anger. I think that Stolitz needs to reckon with his privilege and understand that just because he is sensitive and softer, that doesn't mean that he's not committing any wrongdoing. And I think that frankly, and this is how I feel about so many people in this damn show, you guys, so many people in the show just need to be single. Like, please, like, Blitz, be single for a while, enrich your relationship with your daughter, feel better about yourself, know your worth, king, and work on your business and get your business in order without this grimoire. I know you need it, but with the Asmodean crystal thing coming up, I'm like, ooh, that'll be good, actually. We'll see. We'll see what happens with the Asmodean crystal. And then with Stolitz, I just think he needs to do a lot of inner work and accountability taking, because I really do think that if we're very honest with ourselves, even though Blitz is kind of a more blatant asshole just generally in the show, I do think that in this particular situation, I do think that Blitz, is more of a victim. And so I do think that Stolitz needs to take accountability for that. And then I think eventually, like, if both men have done their own work and then they know how to treat each other better and they build their relationship on actual things in common other than sex and actual things in common other than, I don't know, just like having this transactional part of their relationship, then maybe I will be a non-Stolitz hater. But for now, I remain in my hater sphere because of all of those aforementioned things. So I know that that opinion is not going to be very well received, and I completely understand. And like I said, I am not a black and white thinker in the sense that I just say like, fuck these guys, fuck their relationship, da 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 da. I just think that there are so many steps that have to be taken before we can just look at this relationship and give it 2 thumbs up. And that's just where I'm at as a therapist, you guys. I mean, what do I know about human interaction? So anyways, I kept this one a little bit shorter. I think it's going to end up being a little bit shorter than the Hazbin Hotel one, not because I have less to say, but simply because I really wanted to not go off on too big of tangents with any of these situations that I discussed. Obviously, there is so much more that I could say. If you want me to say more, please, by all means, say it in the comments or request a video. I'm happy to do more in-depth videos depending on what you guys want to see and what I have a lot to say about, because typically I do have a lot to say about everything. So chances are I will have an opinion on the thing that you put in the comments. So anyways, I really hope that everybody has a good day today. Let's get hyped for this next episode. Oh, you better believe, by the way, you better believe I'm going to start doing like episode breakdowns for sure when these individual episodes come out, because girl, I just know I'm gonna, that's gonna be a good opportunity for me to really like yap. So have a good one, you guys. My cat's about to use the litter box and it's going to make a lot of noise because she scratches and flicks things everywhere. So I will turn the camera off now. Have a good one. See you next time. Love you!